Hello, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Welcome to all of you who are on the other side of the screen, our loyal audience from PMI Madrid chapter and our allies chapters in Latin America, Buenos Aires, Nuevo Cuyo, Montevideo, El Salvador, Cajamarca, Santa Cruz in Bolivia, Asunción, Peru, Venezuela, Guatemala, Córdoba in Argentina, and also Quito in Ecuador. My name is Jorge Alberto Lopez. I am currently a volunteer and a member of the board of directors in PMI Madrid. And together with our area manager, Jesus Vasquez, and our dear fellows, Rafa Pagan, who I am helping today on the hosting of this webinar, Jose Barato, Bernardo Valls, Luis Reyes, and Cristina Fernandez. We are pleased to present the interesting presentation of Gloria Miller and Victoria Vaca, leveraging serious gains for strategic decision-making in project and portfolio management, agile against versus traditional dilemmas. First of all, many thanks to Gloria and Victoria for your cooperation and for sharing your experience and knowledge with the subject as you present today to our community of members all around the world. We are now registered around 140 attendees to this presentation from different countries. Thank you very much for that. And also remember that we will be sharing the recording of this session in our YouTube channel later. So of course, this number will go up. Our speakers today, Gloria J. Miller. She is the founder and managing consultant at Mathmetrics GmbH, an international consultancy specializing in project management for large-scale cross-border initiatives in big data analytics, business intelligence, and performance management. She has authored numerous studies, articles, and books on intelligent systems and agile methodologies. Most recently, she developed the Project Win Game, a patented serious game designed to enhance project management skills. Actually, and currently, Gloria is certified as Project Management Professional PMP and Agile Certified Practitioner PMI ACP. She's also a senior member of IEEE and a distinguished contributor to the Computer Society. And also, together with us today is Victoria Vaca Núñez. She is a project assistant at Mathmetrics GmbH, specializing in knowledge management, project coordination, and workshop facilitation. In her role, she has contributed to the co-development of serious games designed to strengthen project management skills, and she has co-created and co-facilitated AI literacy workshops to make complex concepts accessible, practical, and engaging. Victoria is certified as a Scrum Master and holds Master's in degree in Romance and German Studies from the University of Heidelberg in Germany and the University of Seville in Spain. I want everybody to remember that because you are attending to this webinar, you will be obtaining one PDU, and the sequence of steps to be followed will be shared later via email. You can ask your questions on our platform to Gloria and Victoria whenever you want, and we have booked some time at the last 15 minutes for you to make your questions and for Gloria and Victoria to answer them. And without further delay, I leave you in very good hands with Gloria and Victoria on this webinar. You can go ahead, Gloria, Victoria. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so thank you. So I'm Gloria Miller, and Victoria can also say hello.
Thank you. Yes. Hello. Good evening. Buenas tardes a todos.
And we are located in Heidelberg, Germany. And as Jorge has already introduced, we basically do project management consulting. And today we're going to talk to you about gamification and serious games. But we thought we would start with our first question to you to find out what part of the world are you coming from? Because I understand it's more than just Madrid. And I think Victoria is going to paste the link in the chat, and you can actually join that link, or you can join at menti.com in your internet browser and then enter this code that you see at the top here. So if you don't mind sharing with us information about where you're from, then we can have a good overview to see who's joining us today. So yeah, so the link is also in the chat. Yeah. Madrid, Philadelphia, Marseille, So for the most part, we're all a bit local here. So we're all almost all on the same time zone except for Philadelphia.
But
Yes.
Gloria, in the chat we have, sorry if I may interrupt, but in the chat we have people from Montevideo in Uruguay, we have people from Chile, from Bilbao
Okay.
here in Spain, and from Colombia as well.
Ah,
But
okay. So we're pretty international then. So we're not
yeah,
all on the same time zone.
yep.
Switzerland, I also see Tenerife. So we have a pretty international
Yeah.
crowd.
Orense in Spain, so in Galicia.
Italy, okay.
Yeah.
So a pretty good audience. And so far we've had 11 people on the screen. So I think you can all see my screen, yeah? So what you see there is the menti.com location. So with that, we can go ahead and get started. So we're going to talk about serious games and using serious games for strategic decision making in project and portfolio management. That's our topic. And related to that, we're focusing in on the dilemmas between agile and traditional project management methodologies. So we'll be very specific in the domain of project management. We will first go through just an introduction to level set so that we all are talking about gamification and serious game in the same way and why it's interesting for project management. Then we will go into 3 different kinds of games. First, agile games that you could use, then simulation games, and then innovation games. And then we'll do the closing. Depending on how we run for time, we might be able to actually do a little exercise at the end. And for that exercise, you will need a piece of paper and a pencil. So you will need these manual tools if we're able to do that. What we want to do though is we want to make sure we leave time for questions. So if the presentation is running a bit longer, we might skip the exercise. But if we are good in time, we'll actually do the exercise with you so you can also experience a little bit about gaming. Okay, so that's our agenda for the next 45 to 50 minutes. So why serious games? So serious games are games that are to engage users for a specific defined purpose. I think we all know what games are. These are very much defined for a specific purpose and not for pure entertainment. Yeah. And they're whether or not you're consciously aware of whether or not you're playing a game or not really depends on the situation. And the first area is that we have games that are game dynamics. And I think if anyone's been on an airline, you know about the gamification of actually using points to actually get you to fly with a single airline. So we all know about loyalty programs. That's actually a game. It's a gamification to actually drive your specific behavior for a specific purpose. Other kind of game dynamics are just giving reward points or incentives that actually motivate people to do a certain thing. Yeah. So that's gamification. It's really all about trying to motivate a particular type of behavior. Simulation games are actually really to try to reproduce or imitate a specific kind of real life situation. So basically taking a case like a project management situation and actually building gamification around it to actually motivate you to understand that real life situation. It's to immerse the players in a very similar situation to what they plan to experience in real life, and to actually be able to practice skills and practice behaviors in an environment that is very much risk-free. So that's what simulation games are. They simulate a specific situation. And then other kinds of games are for learning. They want you to learn something. They want to educate you about a new process or to improve your knowledge about a particular item or for knowledge transfer. So those are the areas of gamification and serious games and what they're used for. So what we'd like to know before we go too far in is to know your experience that you've had with gamification and simulation and serious games. So we have our second Mentimeter question, and this question is, what is your experience with serious games? Have you played with simulation games, learning games, agile games, or you have no experience? And I think you could select all that apply to your particular situation. So you can go to the same link as before, or the website that you see there in the code, or you can scan the QR code. So we'd be interested in, if you don't have access to an internet, you could also just type your answer into the chat. So we'll give a couple minutes for you to actually answer that question. And I will share the results with you.
Gloria, it says it has the last question still. So maybe you need to go to the question. Yeah.
So there you go. 24 people. Do you see the, okay, so we have none. Okay, so we have some experience with different kinds of games, which is good. We have a nice mixed crowd. So I'll let a couple more people answer, and then we can narrow in and see where we stand. So we have a kind of mixture here. We have people with no experience with gamification, simulation games and learning games are more or less at the same level, and then agile games is a very low level. So it's quite a mixture. In the presentation, we'll touch on agile games, learning games, and simulation games. So if you already have experience, maybe you'll be able to share your experience at the end when we go for the question and answers. And if not, then maybe you'll learn something from one of the other two areas that you could use in your practices. Okay? So it's quite a mixture. Okay. So let's start with talking about experimental learning. There's a paper article available, and the article is called Reflective Game Design Framework for Game-Based Learning. So what the model I'm about to present to you is also available as an open source article with lots of details. So you can Google that title and find more details about it. So when we talk about using games for learning, the first thing is to have a gameplay. So you play the game the first time, and that really is to develop a concrete experience on the first run. Yeah. So that's the first step in this learning cycle. Then after you've actually played the game, the next thing to do is to actually reflect on what was observed during the gameplay. So it's not just playing without a target. You're playing for a specific purpose. Someone's monitoring that. And then you're actually giving feedback to the players on how they actually engaged in the game, what they experienced, what kind of feedback they take from it, what kind of learnings they take. So you kind of have someone observing. So there's kind of a period of reflection. Then after you've reflected, then you kind of extract the information that you've learned in that game and talk about how it applies to your situation. How does it apply to your project? How does it apply to your environment? Examine and conceptualize and bring it to a higher level, so it wasn't just the gameplay, but now it's applicable to the environment in which you're working. Then the next thing is level up. So you play the game again, making it a little bit maybe more complex, adding a new level, trying a new skill, doing some kind of active experimentation. So with this cycle, if you're using gamification in your projects environments, you actually are doing it, as mentioned before, with a purpose. And then you have methods within of how to reflect and build on the experience so that you can actually take away a practical experience for your environment itself. So this is kind of a learning cycle that goes with gamification and learning from games. We have three kinds of games that we've already mentioned. We have innovation games, agile games, and simulation games. What you see is each one of these has a link, and we'll go into these in more detail. So everything that we present to you here today, you can actually go find more information that you can actually use to build your own games in your own environment and apply them. So innovation games are really about trying to understand stakeholder management. So working with clients, building a product, trying to understand what it is that they want from that product. We'll discuss that a little bit more, as innovation games, so that's customer facing. Agile games themselves are really about team building, experience of building the skills and capabilities of the people that are working in your projects. And particularly it relates to our topic today, managing the agile dilemmas of actually transitioning or working with agile methods. And then the last one is simulation games. Again, taking a real world experience and being able to apply that to a situation. So these are the three kinds of serious games that are available to us in project management. And Victoria's actually put the links for each of those in the chat, so you also have those there. Okay, so now we go into the topic of agile games. And with that, I will turn it over to Victoria. You're on mute, Victoria.
I am on mute. Thank you, Gloria. So, yeah, I'm going to talk about the dilemmas that we have also on our title, on the title of the presentation. So we are going to specify each dimension, the differences between the traditional and waterfall approaches, the agile approach, and then the dilemma or the challenge that it causes. So the first one will be the control, project control. And the traditional approach will be that it's controlled by the project manager with a very strict project governance. And the agile, on the other hand, has a shared ownership and empowered by an empowered team. And the dilemma here or the challenge could be, well, you have the strong oversight on one hand versus the distributed responsibility, meaning the waterfall approach gives the manager a high level of control and visibility over the project, and it also emphasizes the top-down control, overseeing also each phase before the project moves forward. But you have also, on the other hand, the agile, the distributed responsibility, which is only possible if the team has a certain amount of maturity, a level of maturity. So that will be the first one. The second one will be the dimension planning, the planning approach. So in the traditional, as we know, is very predictive. You plan very long term. The agile whereas is more adaptive, the short-term iterative plans. And here could be the dilemma that you have on one hand the long-term schedule versus the evolving schedule, meaning you have the waterfall ensures the predictability, but lacks flexibility. And whereas the agile is more flexible, but then it's harder to forecast with months ahead. So that could be the dilemma. The third one would be the customer involvement. So we know that the customer involvement is limited in the traditional approach. After initial requirements phase, in the agile methodology, you have the continuous collaboration and feedback with the customer. Whereas here the dilemma? Well, you have the dilemma that in the traditional, you have the fixed intervals versus the ongoing feedback and alignment. The challenge could be that the waterfall reduces the interruptions because there are fixed intervals, but you could risk the misalignment or misunderstandings because you don't have this ongoing feedback with the customer. And on the other hand, the agile, you have this a lot of feedback and alignment, and you're continuously meetings with the customer and then getting feedback. But then that can be also challenging in terms of budgeting and planning. And then the fourth one will be the requirements. So you have the requirements fixed up front, as we know, with very detailed scope defined very early in the planning in the traditional or waterfall approach. In the agile methodology, you have the evolving and the scope can adapt during the project as the project goes on. So we have on one hand the dilemma that you have the written instructions. So that is very well defined, the requirements. But then the waterfall approach can struggle if the requirements are uncertain versus the evolve through discussion, meaning the agile you can also change things, the requirements, but the challenge could be again the budgeting and the planning. So you can have one hand, the written very fixed instructions, or if you want to change, then you need to know that it can be also changing the other factors that play also a role. Then we have the fifth, the documentation. So we have the very heavy documentation upfront in the traditional approach, whereas we have the less incremental documentation in the agile. So you have on one hand the written details versus loss of details or knowledge, meaning you can have a lot of clarity upfront, but it comes often with additional time or additional effort and additional cost or indirect costs to do that. And the agile maybe reduces waste, but then you risk also knowledge gaps. So if the team is not disciplined enough. So that would be the dilemma in the documentation part. The another dimension is the change. Change management is a big thing. Also, change is costly and discouraged in a traditional approach. So we all know we don't like change that much often. And then in agile is the change is expected and even embraced. So you have the dilemma would be either to justify the change or adapt and rework. So it's also that you have the waterfall that maintains a certain amount of stability. Because there is no that much change, there's more stability, but you risk then also that there's no adaptation when something is changing or something needs to be different during the project. And the agile can adjust quickly, as we know, but then the scope can also grow beyond control. So that will be the dilemma. So we justify the change or adapt and rework. The other one, the sixth one, is the team structure. So I'm not going to say that in English, that word. I cannot say that word, so I'm going to say it in Spanish. So la jerarquía más estricta, una jerarquía estricta, and then clear functional divisions in the traditional approach. In the agile ways, then we have the cross-functional collaborative teams. So we have the teams share the responsibility, and we have the dilemma. Then you want the specializations versus collaboration and flexibility. So if you have the team uses the specialization, then it can also create kind of silos in the project environment. The agile improves that the teamwork, so they work more together across all the departments, but then it requires a broader skill set. So that will be the dilemma. So yeah, and we have the eighth, the last one is the risk management. We have in the planning by traditional approach, you have the risk identified very early in the planning, and they are mitigated through the planning. On the other hand, the agile approach is the risks are discovered and then mitigated iteratively. So as they occur. So is the dilemma or the challenge is here the early risk mitigation or versus the risk adaptation? So if you the waterfall can be good if the risks are well known from the beginning, and agile works well in a more uncertain environment. So yeah. So these are the dilemmas that or challenges as well, if you want, that make people that you need really think differently and use serious games in order to be able to deal with all these challenges. So that's why we have this presentation. So in the next slide, we see that we have the value of agile games in team development. So with the objectives, meaning that you have the boost familiarity. This means that you have the team members get to know each other. So if they are playing an agile game, they get the chance to know each other's strengths and styles and ways of working and thinking. So in a very playful way. then you have the other objective of the agile games, which is the improved problem solving, meaning it encouraged that the team works together, and then it's a collaborative thinking and a quick decision making, but in a low risk setting, so in a low risk environment, because it's a game, so it's not a real situation, but it can be you learn to deal with a very similar problem solving issues like in a real world. And then you have the increased engagement, because if you are in an interactive play, you keep the participants actively involved. So that's the engagement also, and that you are more involved in the game than if it was not in a playful way. And then the last point, the last objective, will be to promote team cohesion, which is that it builds trust and connection by playing the game. So through shared challenges and successes, then you really build a trust base. And we wanted to show you just two games to explain two games, agile games, but there are many more. And I can also add the link to those agile games on the chat if you want. And the first one, maybe some of you know it, this the Marshmallow Tower. Time to play is 18 minutes for one round, and the learning objectives is collaboration, iteration. And the Marshmallow Tower is a very simple game. You get 20 sticks of spaghetti. You get 1 meter string, 1 meter of tape, and then one marshmallow. And you need to build the highest tower with a marshmallow on the top without falling. And so you have the iteration is that you have a certain amount of time, and then you need to be building in a team, as a team, own one team. And if it falls, then you can in the second iteration you can then solve the problem, the issues, and then you can repeat, and then you learn from the errors that you had before. So the learning objectives, collaboration and iteration, because you can really see that you improve each time, each iteration you do something better, and then at the end it works and the best. The second game would be the paper airplane game. That's also a very nice game, an agile game. So there's 9-minute sprints divided in 3 minutes planning, 3 minutes building the airplane game, paper airplane, and 3 minutes retrospective. And you play it several rounds. And this is also a nice, the catch, what you need to do to create as many paper airplanes as possible. But the thing is, the catch is that you can only do one fold. So each member of the team can only fold one part of the paper and then have to pass it to the next team member. And should fly, the paper airplane should fly also a certain amount of meters, or that you have fixed before. So it's only successful if the airplane gets to that to that amount of meters, and then you can repeat these again and again, and then you can also improve the way of creating these paper airplanes. So the iteration estimation is what you learn here, because you also have to estimate at the beginning how many airplanes do you think are you building. And then you can see if that's the amount you said in the beginning or not, if there are more or if they are less or fewer. So 6 more games are in this link. I can also, as I said, I put it on the chat, or it is already there, but I can also add it at the end. And that's a very nice overview of how many agile games you can really use, and I will really encourage you to try to one or two of these games in your next project team, maybe. And it's really fun. And now the next slide, you can see how fun it is, because we were really, a few years ago, we were in Madrid on site, also invited by you guys from PMI Madrid chapter. And it was a lot of fun. And we did this game with the attendees there. So, and it was really good to see how they improved, and each time they did something else, and they changed something in their way of folding the paper airplane, and at the end they were more successful. So it was really a thing that we also played there on site with maybe some of you who are now attending as well. So, and then if we want to see, well, if we go again with this overview of the 8 dilemmas that I introduced you earlier. So we are actually, with these agile games, we address probably 4 of them. We think that we address 4 of them. You can really check those. So through this play and through this team experiences, you can really experience challenges like collaboration, adaptability, feedback, shared ownership. So all these kind of things that you know from agile approach, then you can really see that it's really checked or covered with these agile games. So at least 4 of these dilemmas. And now, yes, Gloria will take over the simulation games.
Yeah, okay. No, that was a pretty good introduction. I think we'll find out at the end if any of you guys have actually played any of those games. For simulation games, so if you remember, the target with simulation games is to actually try to simulate an environment. In 2019, we did a study, and our study was related to, do we need a project manager in agile projects, or is the project management role completely gone? So we studied project management as a topic and tried to identify who is now doing what aspects of the project using when you apply a Scrum method as an example. Yeah, so that was the purpose of the study that we did. You can also find the study if you just Google it. It's available open source on the web, or you can contact us and we'll give it to you. And what we found is that 44% of the project management tasks, so the tasks we as project managers exclusively did before, are now done by different people in the team, either the product owner, the team themselves, or maybe delegated to the sponsor, or just the way that the method is run. So if you know the Scrum method as an example, you do the iteration planning, and then you do your sprint, and then you do your review, and then you do your retrospective. So if you actually formally run these aspects of that method, then it takes care of and does several of the things we as project managers used to have to do and to worry about. So we found that 44% of the tasks are now delegated to team members, or is shared with the project manager. What we also found from our experience working in projects is that the team is struggling, or people in projects are actually struggling to actually apply these methods. So for example, estimation. Now we want the team to estimate themselves, or we want the product owner to be responsible for working with the stakeholders and making sure that the team does the actual work breakdown necessary for the product. So people were actually struggling with these new skills. So that's why simulation games are important. And for that, we thought, okay, we now really need to have a way of making people experience the things that they will experience in a project. So Victoria and I worked together, and we built the game that Jorge mentioned to you at the beginning. And the game actually simulates either using a traditional methodology or using an agile methodology, and all the things that people need to do in a project related to that. So things like estimation, things like team building, things like issue and opportunity management, so the risk management. And so the game itself, we designed it. It's available. It's also patented. So we got a patent from the United States on the game. And it just really tries to simulate this experience of working in agile projects or working in traditional projects. And what's the difference? So that's what the game is about. And related to that, we played that game several times. And mostly the idea is that it's played with the people in the team, so the new people that have to experience these skills, like the team members that before have not been responsible for estimating or budgeting, the product owner, etc. And what you see is we played that several times with the experienced people, and the kind of feedback that we get is what you see in the cloud, in the word cloud there, is that they figure out about balancing cost, what that really means in terms of product features versus not having product features, the budgeting, the resource management. Those were areas where they thought they really learned how they would be affected and applied in projects. So for each one of those, there were 7 things that were identified for the kinds of behaviors that people have to change, and then related to that, the things that they had to learn. I'm not going to go to this slide because we have the slide that we presented to you with the dilemmas. And what you see in this slide is you now see that we have some where we had them before. So with 2 checks, they were also addressed with those agile games that you saw. But this game simulation picks up other aspects like project control and being able to apply the project control. Risk management was a high topic. Working on team structure, so how to compose the right team and things like that. So that's the idea with simulation games. Simulate a specific project environment with your own team composition, the kinds of skills you need, simulate the kinds of risks that you will have, the opportunities that you will have, and then the basic iteration and the kind of product that you plan to build. In that game, we build a smartphone, but in most projects, you don't build a smartphone. You have another kind of product that you're trying to build. So that's the simulation games. Next, we go into innovation games. Now, we have another question for you on the Mentimeter, but I need to change the slide in order for you to get it. And that question is, when a project faces a major issue, what should take priority? So that's a question for you. And we'd be interested in your view now that you've heard what we think are dilemmas and how some of the games can affect those.
Gloria, can you maybe, people can access through the link, but also the QR code, because I cannot paste the QR code.
Yeah, the link is in the chat, and then the code is there.
Yeah.
But it's the same QR code from before, so it hasn't changed.
Yeah, that's right.
So major change, what takes priority?
You can select more than one, so you can select all that apply.
Aligning stakeholders. So far, aligning stakeholders is in the top position with 9 people responding there. Nobody thinks protecting the original scope is important. Nobody.
That's, yeah, and that with the stakeholders is also funny. Because
I think it's good that aligning stakeholders. We were discussing about the new PMBOK version 8 and the application of AI and aligning stakeholders. So it's a huge topic. It's a huge topic.
Yeah.
Okay. So so we'll leave it there. So aligning stakeholders is in the top position, which basically fits with the next aspect of this presentation. Yeah. And the next aspect of the presentation, which I just went to the end, which I did not mean to do.
No.
So I don't know how I did that. Is innovation games. And so innovation games now takes a completely different perspective than the last 2 kinds we've seen. The other 2 were focused internally in the project. One was for the team. The second was trying to build the skills in the team. And now we focus external, look at the customer, and look at our stakeholders. Here, the objective of these games is to answer the question of what is it that the customer wants? So really trying to understand what is the scope, what is it they're trying to accomplish, and what is it that they need. You want to identify any hidden features, because we also know in IT, maybe not in some of your fields, but in IT, most people don't know what they want until they see it. Yeah. So you're really trying to uncover hidden needs, hidden ideas that they have, and things that they maybe haven't really thought through in terms of when they defined the scope or when they wrote it on a piece of paper. Deepen the understanding of the customer needs. So really trying to follow and not only make it transparent that they say what they need, but trying to understand what's behind it and why they need it and how they will apply it. So trying to really deepen the understanding of the scope so that it's very clear in terms of what it is you're trying to accomplish. And then strengthening the relationship between the team, so the team itself, so that the team understands what the customer wants and needs, and the team understands the customer. But also there's vice versa, that the customer understands the team and the customer understands the constraints of the team. And this fits very well with your topic about stakeholders and aligning stakeholders. So the innovation games are really now looking external outside the team and trying to align those stakeholders with the scope of the project. And for those, there are different kinds of games. So there are multiple kinds, but there are 4 main groups. One is looking at the product, so the thing you're trying to build, that's the product box. And one example of a game there is what they call the product box, where you actually try to get the customer to design a packaging, what if they were to pull this product off the shelf, what would be the main features that are written on the packaging that would explain what it is trying to accomplish. Prioritization, so trying to identify what's important and in what order. So the game 2020 Vision is you take and you write out cards with the product features that you want. And then for those product features, you get the customer to prioritize the first feature that they want, and then from there, what's more or less important. So actually ranking and prioritizing that. Customer behavior, how will they use the product? So the apprentice is really the customer, following the customer in their job as an apprentice, seeing what they do in their day-to-day job as if you were going to actually do their job themselves. So that's what that game is. And then find a new feature is actually buying a new feature and prioritizing that you might need. So what do you need in the beginning of your day, Mr. Customer? What do you need in the middle of your day? What do you need at the end of your day? So these are 4 different categories of games. You can find 8 more games at the following link. So these are just 4 that I've mentioned there. And these are about stakeholders. So understanding the customer and the stakeholders' point of view in terms of what it is that they need and what you're trying to accomplish. So we built on top of that. We did a blog post, I think 2 years ago, using elements from the game that we built, the Project Win game. So the value, the money, and the product features to address this dilemma in agile projects, which we call the agile budget problem. And if you don't know what the agile budget problem is, basically, when you start using agile methodologies like Scrum, managers really expect that it will run exactly like a traditional project so that they will get all the features and everything they expected within the same amount of money, right? So this is trying to manage and explain to people, well, with an agile project, you develop the scope as you go, so you may or may not get all of your features. So related to that, the game Bang for the Buck, which is also described in the innovation games, is one game you could play where basically you give the stakeholders a set of features, and you actually collaborate with them on prioritizing what features are important. Yeah. So the goal is to have the stakeholder themselves do the prioritization versus you as the project team doing the prioritization. The next one is buy a feature. Here you actually give them a budget, so an amount of money, and you give them a set of cards that are the features, and they have to buy with the money they have the features that they want. So this is to show them that you still have limited budget and you have to make a decision, Mr. Customer, on what's important related to the features. And then the last one is 2020 Vision, and I described that before, where you're actually getting them to prioritize what's important. So these are 3 kinds of games that you could play also with some of the kinds of money and the features that are available in the game that we showed you. So here you see we've used this with executives, board members, so not only team members or end users, but also executives. Provided them with a set of features there, gave them a budget of 1,000 of these coins each, and they had to decide where they wanted to spend the money. So that's what that picture was showing you. So if we come back to our dilemma card, we again now are adding additional features in. So we have the control aspect that you can do. Here we've now added in the customer feature aspect is really coming from the innovation games. So I think with the games that we've shown you so far, you can more or less address all of the dilemmas. We don't have a good answer for documentation, so we'd be interested if you do, but we don't have a good answer for that. But with the different kinds of games, you can address the different issues. So we have 15 minutes left, Victoria. So we're 10 minutes over where we wanted to be if we wanted to play the game. Should we try it, or what do you think?
I don't know. Well, we can try. I don't know if people have paper and pen, and if they have time. If not, we can also, maybe we should go.
Let's play. So Alexander was saying, let's play. So let's try it really quick, and then we'll make we'll make the closing as sharp as we can.
Okay, so please take a piece of paper and take a pen, and then please draw what I'm telling you. And it's in the first is the waterfall approach, and it is you can click, Gloria, on the right. So you only listen to me, and I say just one sentence. What you need to draw. There's no questions allowed because the waterfall, the traditional. So no really feedback. Then I describe the image, and then you draw on the paper, and then we after you have drawn both, so the waterfall approach and also the agile approach, then we reveal the image. So please draw a large rectangle. Inside the rectangle, please draw 4 lines, and then 3 stars on the right side. So I repeat, draw a large rectangle, un rectángulo. Inside it, draw 4 lines and 3 stars on the right side. So now the agile approach, right? So we have another image that I'm going to say to describe, and you are allowed to ask questions. So I'm saying first, draw an oval, un óvalo, in the center of the piece of paper. Draw an oval, un óvalo, in the center. If you have questions, you can ask questions.
I think we'll have time for at least one person to ask a question. Any questions? Ovala or ovala,
horizontal or vertical? That's a good question. Vertical, please.
Okay.
Then
next.
Add 2 rectangles on the left side. Add 2 rectangles on the left side.
Okay, do we have anyone asking questions on this? I'm looking at the chat.
Okay. Then add 3 lines at the bottom. Add 3 lines at the bottom.
Okay, rectangle, horizontal, vertical, aligned. I don't see any more questions. Rectangle, horizontal, vertical, aligned. That's the only question I saw. There were no more, no?
So the rectangles should be vertical aligned.
Do the lines touch the side of the oval?
Yes, they do. 3 lines at the bottom, and they touch the sides of the oval. So that's it. Gloria, the slide with the is hidden, so you have to unhide because I thought we.
You hid it? Why did you hide it? Now I have to figure out how to unhide it.
It's just. I'm sorry.
I don't know how to do that. Sorry.
Well, I can unhide it in my, and then I can share it for my.
Sorry, I don't know how to do it. Maybe you need to share it because I don't know how to unhide.
Yeah, I share. You can request multiple percent replace current share. So I don't know if you see my. Do you see my slide?
No, we cannot see your slide, Victoria.
No, because it's not uploaded. Well, maybe the screen.
Yeah, if you could try sharing all your screen. There you go.
Yeah. So here's the result. Do you see it?
We don't see it. I don't see it. Okay.
Now I can see.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would like to know what was your
How close or far away were you?
yeah, how close or far away are you from the original picture? So maybe you can write on the chat or so far, it says one, Alejandra, very far, Lucy Valero. So what does that mean for you?
So yeah, you can maybe go to the next slide and then.
Yeah. I'm stop sharing. Very.
Nope. You can keep sharing. It's just you need to go to the next slide if you're going to.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So we have the differences what differences did you notice between the two drawings and what caused them? We would like to know that. Also, how did it feel to draw without being able to ask any questions, and how it was to be able to make questions, to ask questions, and get feedback, and what changed when you could ask the questions. So what did you notice there, and where do you see the same dynamic happening in your real projects today? So, and what would you do different next time? So after you have experienced this. Oops. Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm sharing now. So I think the point is we're a little short on time. The point would be, if you were to do such an exercise in your project, it's about getting people to understand the differences between one approach and the other approach and how to communicate, and the benefit of asking questions. And if you do such a thing, you have to actually do a debrief after. Otherwise, people lose what it is you're trying to explain to them. So we just wanted to kind of experience the difference of that. Yeah.
They liked more the asking question I see on the chat, but also one says he was closer, Paolo Ricardo, to the waterfall. It's also funny to see that sometimes not asking questions, you're doing it right, and asking the questions sometimes it still doesn't fit. But I think that most of them say they will do more specific questions, and yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so I'm moving to the next slide. If I have the control, do you see my slides?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So I think we just wanted to, if we obviously would have liked more time because we would also like to give you time for questions, but the point is that you can do little small things like that in your projects, and we just wanted you to experience it. So this is the last formal slide before the interactive questions. So the uses and benefits of serious games and strategic decision making. So we try to wrap up now. You can simulate complex real world project scenarios. So we think that's one of the benefits, and you can get people to experience realistic situations based on your project. Visual, so you can have visual and cross-functional impacts, meaning mixing up different people and different roles. And then you can also see how people interact with each other. Yeah. So we think that's an important thing in seeing the dependencies. Enhancing risk management skills, so developing a stronger ability for people to anticipate issues that might come up. So you can use games for that. I use it with the risk matrix as well, as an example. Improving communication and collaboration. This goes back to also, if people are in a project, they get to understand how each other thinks and works. And doing it with a game is kind of a risk-free environment versus trying to find out in your first sprint how people think or how they react to stress or not. So we think this is also an important aspect. Encouraging data-driven decision-making. So particularly with the innovative games, you actually get people to focus in on data. If you have a fixed budget and you have constraints, then people experience what those constraints are like and they make their decisions based on that. Creativity, obviously you can come up with your own games. It's a very creative process overall. And revealing cognitive biases and decision patterns. I've already mentioned that like 3 times now, really figuring out how people think and how they experience situations. This, I think, is one of the key benefits of a gaming environment because it's low risk and people feel a little bit more at ease. And then supporting change management. So that's the next one, supporting change management in terms of your projects. So from our point of view, we think it's actually quite good. So we have our last question for you, which is on the Mentimeter. So I need to go there. And related, while you're doing that, we're going to look at the questions you put in the chat and try to spend a few minutes answering your questions. So that was our presentation.
It's the same link again as before. So yeah, the same code. If you want us to have it again on the chat, then please let us know.
So as you're doing it, I see one question that says, do you have any reference or study that proves to decision makers the importance of implementing gamification in project teams? A way to sell this? The answer is I can provide 2 links that after the session. So the answer is yes. And I can provide you 2 links to academic studies that talk about the benefits of it and specifically the benefits within project management. That's point 1. Point 2 is the innovation games, and what we presented to you is actually also in a book. So not our book, you can buy it on Amazon, the innovation games. So there is a reference book specifically on the benefits that also gives some statistics for it. So that's point 2. So I will send a link and then also provide information on buying that book so you can use that as well. So yes, the answer is yes, we do have references. I think it's Alexandra that's asking the question. Does that answer the question that you had, or was it a different question? I think you can open your mic and ask.
And Jorge has also a question.
Yeah, okay, I was going to give Alexandra.
Yeah, Hannah says yes, thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so then the question from Jorge is, if we would like to apply these games with our teams, what criteria shall we consider as PMs to play with them? How do we select the appropriate game? Okay, so that's a very good question. So it's first, how do you select the appropriate game? Each one of the games that we mentioned, the game will tell you what aspect it actually addresses. So it says, this is about innovation, this is about collaboration, this is about estimation, this is about iterations. So each game has an objective of the game and why you should play that game. So there's already a definition for that behind each game. And then the second part is the things that you need are also documented for each game. As you saw, most of the games can be done with paper and pencil and flip charts. And some of them require, the elements that we mentioned to you, like tokens and things like that. but each game has defined with it what you need in order to play. So there's already the criteria of how you might want to formulate that for playing. And with our simulation game, everything is in the box. And we've also provided a lot of blank cards so that you can make it specific to your project. So for example, in the simulation game, we mentioned it's about agile versus traditional, and you have to build a product. So you can build cards that define the product you want to do for your project, and you have to form a team. And for the team, you identify the skills and capabilities, and you have to be able to compose those. So with the blank cards, you could actually make it fit your specific game. So that should give information on how to apply, one hand, what you need, and then the other, what each game brings to the table. Jorge, does that answer your question? Okay. I don't see any more questions. So if we go to the results for the Mentimeter, relevant but no stakeholder buy-in. As I mentioned, I'll send out a couple links with, or even send the articles so that you can actually have some supporting information that is useful for you to actually be able to sell it to your management or to sell it to your team. A lot of these are low risk in terms of they don't cost a lot of, they actually cost very little, almost nothing to be able to play. But if you're trying to, for example, get your executives to agree on something, if you give them really casino chips, then they really understand value and they really are willing to work with you on that and to participate because they know the constraints and they are really thinking very hard about how they want to spend their money. So you probably don't need so much a buy-in to play the game. You need a situation that requires people to make decisions. Yes? Okay. There's one more question from Raphael. What is the name of the game you designed? It's called the Project Win game. And in the presentation, there's a link for it. And there's a website where you can find the information as well. So just to stay on time, it's exactly 8:01 now. We like to thank you for the participation. It was quite good for us.
Thank you very much, Gloria. You can maybe also put the last slide so that they can connect with us through LinkedIn if they wish. So the very last, there you go. So please feel free to contact us through LinkedIn and then we can connect and you can ask any questions if you have further questions there. There are a few questions on the chat, but I think also one question was if we are going to share the slides. I don't know, Jorge, how you handle this.
Yeah, we can share the slides. If you share it with me, I can make the email of the attendees. I can elaborate on that and share the presentation. I don't have any problem.
Okay.
Okay. So thank you very much, Gloria, Victoria. It was as you are seeing in the chat, the presentation has been magnificent, and we have learned a lot on the leveraging series agile games and innovation games. Really interesting topic. Just before we go, let me invite everybody not only to participate as attendees in the webinars or in the next one, but also as speakers. We currently and constantly look for speakers. If you're interested in doing that, please contact Rafa Pagan to his email, rafa.pagan@voluntario.pmi-mat.org. I will also remind you that the assistance to this webinar, it will give you the chance to claim one PDU. And again, and before we go, Gloria, Victoria, for you to know, this is the last webinar before we go to Christmas and to New Year's Eve. So I don't know if you would like to say one final words in that line.
Feliz Navidad.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone. So
Feliz Navidad y eso, que mucha salud para el próximo año y muchas gracias por atender y por estar ahí. Y bueno, si tenéis cualquier pregunta, tanto en español como en inglés o en alemán, como queráis, que eso. Muchas gracias por participar y estamos en contacto.
Again, thank you all. Thank you guys again, Gloria and Victoria, for sharing your knowledge in this presentation. And just before we go, our next webinar will be on January 16th, after New Year's Eve and after Christmas, of course. In that date, Pablo Fraile will be presenting us La resistencia que no ves, descubre por qué tu organización no responde al cambio que impulsas y una verdad incómoda que ningún líder quiere escuchar. And as always, we will be publishing it in our social media channels and also in a chapter's website. We will be waiting for you on January 16th. And also let me take part of this message that Merry Christmas and Happy New Year for everybody from the PMI Madrid Board of Directors. It has been a pleasure to be again with you and see you next time. Bye bye.
Thank you, Jorge, for hosting us, and thank you for your words, kind words. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very
you.
much.
Bye. See you.
Bye.
Bye.